and welcome to lesson 2 of week 1. In this lesson, we are going to look at type hints and return values. My name is Mildred. Now, type hints will let you specify the expected data type for variables and functions and arguments, and also the return values. They do not actually enforce any type at runtime, but it improves readability. It enables static analysis tools like when you use MyPy and PyWrite, and also it helps with auto-completion in IDEs. So let's give an example of type hints in functions. Let's say we have a function called add, and we have two arguments, a and b, or two parameters, a and b, and then we return a plus. So when we create this function, we want to have a type hint for this function so that the user will know, if they use an IDE, when they call this function, they will know exactly what to supply as their argument when they start typing the function. Now we have over around this, we see param a, but we can put a hint and say we're expecting that the user supplies an int. We will come to the next one, we're expecting an int, and if they are supplying an int and you add them, we're expecting the overall return value, you use an arrow, to be an int. Okay, and so this is all about type hinting in Python. So at this point now, when I hover around this, we see a whole definition of what is needed, and it can give you definitions and suggestions. So when I come here and I type, and something else you need to learn when you write your code is when you want to test, you want to use if name is equal to main. Now whenever you are executing this as a script, that means you are clicking the run button, or you are calling this from the command line as a script. You are saying that if the name is set to main, it means that the name of the script will be set to main. It should run this, so that when you have code in production and the code is like a processing script, you don't want everything to start printing on the screen, or your testing script to start printing on the screen. You want it to only run this when this is executed as a script, and not when like a software on an app is running and is called by another page. Alright, so that's the meaning of this. You can read more about it to see all of these meta classes or magic methods that we have in Python. Now we want to say x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 7, and when we say print and we want to print, we'll call this function add. In the parentheses we supply two arguments, one for a and one for b. Now when I say add, you see how it gave me the definition immediately, that is expecting an int and an int for the definition. So I know that what I have to supply is an integer, and I can easily read about it. Alright, so now I can come here to say I want to supply x and y. Alright, and the expected return value is going to be an int, and when I run here I get x and y, 4 and 7, to get 11. So you can follow this example to understand that. Now we have a module in Python, we call that the typing module. For us to use typing module, we can import typing. Now the typing module is something you want to read. I have provided a link to the official documentation in your lesson resource, but what we want to do is import certain things from typing. Let's say whatever I want to type here, I'm going to need a list, a dictionary, tuple, and the typing module will just provide support for type hints. Like when I want to have like a dictionary, a dictionary object will have the key and the value, right? And then want to have a list of many items, and a list to tell me the items I have, if they are strings, if they are ints, and things like that. Alright, so I want to just use list, dictionary, and tuple for instance. So I'll say from typing import, let's import list dict tuple. Alright, and then now let's say I want to provide type hints for variables. Let's say I want to have numbers, and I want this to be a list, and now I'll put a square bracket and I want to provide a type. Now I'm using this typing to provide support for my type hints, and so I'll say list of what? Of integers. So I'll say list of int. So now this is equal to 1, 2, 3. If I put something that is not a list of int and I put something like my name here, it violates this rule. And so if I have like a CI/CD pipeline that have to check or validate this, and the expected return is supposed to be an int and it returns this, then it complains, which is very useful in API because type mismatch is always an issue when the app is not giving type hints and things like that. So now we expect it to be a list of integers. So you see, every time we want to specify or give a type hint, we just name the variable or the function or the argument, whatever it is. We use a colon and write the type. So this is a list of integers. So list in a variable bracket integers. Let's say we have person, and this person is equal to, let's say it's going to be a dictionary that will have, let's say name of this person is Alice, and then we have city of Alice. Let's say city will be let's put New York. Now we have this dictionary. We want to put a type hint, so we'll put a colon here, and let's say this is dict. Now we're using this dict. So what do we have is a string, a dictionary string, a name and value string, right? So we'll say dictionary string or string, okay? And so we have the type hint. Let's say we want to have a tuple, let's say point, for instance, and this will be equal to, let's say point is equal to, let's say 4, 7, and this is going to be a tuple, so we'll put a colon and we'll say the tuple of int. So what we have here is the tuple comes in pairs like this, so it's int and int, right? Sorry, is a comma here, so it's a tuple of int like this. All right, so this is just how we do it. We've seen how we do it in functions and variable. The same concept every time you need to provide or have a type hint. So we can have something we call optional type, and we use this when we want to specify a specific type or none. Let's say, for instance, I want to use optional, so I can add that optional here, and here I can say I want to create a function. Let's say def find user, and I want to get the ID. I want to get the ID. This is an int, and then I want the return type. I don't know what will be returned, so I'll just say optional. So now if we do this, let's say this is an API call and we provide the ID. Let's say we don't know in advance what will come out, so we'll say optional and then string. So this can be either none or a specific type, and you can just put optional. All right, so we have optional string, and why I put string here is because I know that I want to return maybe the name of the user. So let's say if ID is equal to 1, return, let's say Alice. All right, so I know that I'm doing that. Now if ID is not equal to 1, what happens? I'm going to return none. Now none does not fit an int or a string, and so it can always return none. So when you expect that when something is not found it will return none, you want to use optional like that. So I say optional and I put string because I know it will return the name, and if not, return none. And so this is one of the use case of optional. All right, you can have an alias for your type. For instance, we want to have let's say user ID, and I'll say is equal to int. So I've made an alias for my type to be user ID. So when I say something like get user, I'm going to specify or collect the user ID as an argument, and then this is going to be of type user ID. Why? Because I already aliased it as an int here. All right, and the final return type, you always put an arrow. You say I'll return a string like that. Then you can put your function definitions. So your lesson resource lists different members of the typing module, where you can see the set, the type sticks, type add, union, see how they are used, research them, read more about it. You can even have any. When you use any, it allows any value. So when you say the final return type is any, it will allow any values. Okay, so you have to read this to understand it. In the next lesson, we are going to look at meta classes and closures. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.